a epic time on the show floor. Broke in some new shoes, so everything is going very well for me here. And with my new shoes come some amazing, stylish men. I happen to be very lucky, surrounded by many men here at IFA. And we're going to start way over here with Josh Vergar from Android Authority. Then we have Taylor Martin from Pocketnow. And Michael Fisher, also from Pocketnow. How you doing, guys?
Very, very tired, but otherwise excellent. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, very, very tired. It's there's been a lot of walking, especially to get to Samsung. And
okay, maybe we can start with that. What was up with Samsung putting their booth in the most inconvenient place in the world? Are they that important that we'll walk a million miles to go to them?
Yeah, they like to have that little island to themselves. They don't, they don't need to be corrupted by anyone else's things. It's just all Samsung all the time.
There's even that long hallway that leads into it that just has Samsung a bunch of times on all the windows, so you know where you're going.
Not to mention the 50 flags out front, letting you know what brand you're going to visit. Yes, of course.
I'm pretty sure it has its own zip code. Just the building, just the building. It's so big.
So what did you guys think of the announcement?
Taylor was there for us, so I can't speak to that. I'll let you guys go.
It was very long. They explained every last feature in detail, but it was cool. The products, most of them were really cool, but I'm not sold on the whole curved display thing yet, especially for the Note Edge. It just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me to be able to have 160 pixels on the side of your smartphone to do something with.
You don't think that that's a realistic thing for people not to break their phones with?
Right.
Having a display on the corner, you don't think that's a great
no? It's great.
Well, we live in the information age. I can totally imagine just all the news outlets creating tickers for that one little area right there. And to me, that's one of the main ways, other than shortcuts, that I feel like that edge would be used for. But holding it in your hand, no matter what hand it is, you're probably going to trigger something on that thing. And that's the only issue I really have with it.
Right. So the right edge of the display is curved. So when you're holding it with your right hand, your right thumb kind of just sits on the edge of the display. And if you're left-handed, like me, you tend to hold your phone with your left hand, which means that you then have to use two hands. So it's not, we had a guy back home write an editorial about how it just kind of completely shuts out left-handed users unless, I don't know.
So my thing with the Edge is I've been seeing this curved display at Display Taiwan for the past 3 years, like the same kind of thing, and like they have the demo, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, wow. And then I turn to the guys from CPT who've been showing like a very similar thing, and I'm like, so what's the software integration on? Like, is that difficult? And they're like, and they just don't even answer. So like the first thing that I thought when I saw that, I'm like, Samsung has balls the size of this country to put out something with that the software iteration has to be perfect and for it not to be just be a disaster.
You're absolutely right, and it is not perfect. The demo units are really a little raw. Because I'm the guy who always loves new novelty for the sake of novelty. I will kind of forgive anything if you are bold, and I have to give Samsung that kind of credit. They are really, really, really unafraid to do something different with a line as important as the Note. I think that's great, but unfortunately, every time I could not activate the side display on the Note Edge, I would call over someone in the booth, and they would be like, "Oh, you just do this." And then they do exactly what I did, and it doesn't respond. And it's like, how do I invert this? Like, I don't think you can. I'm like, it just did. And
I think the Gear S actually has the same problem, and it's trouble with that curved display. And I don't know if it's necessarily a software problem or just the way the digitizer works or what it is. But when they were showing it off on stage, since it has the curved display, I don't remember her name, but she was trying to show off the feature where you swipe up on the home screen to get to your apps, and she
took
swiped,
like 5
swiped,
tries
swiped,
or something like that.
Swiped, and finally, I think it was 4 or 5 times she finally got it to work. And I don't think it could be a responsiveness issue, or it could also be a software issue. I don't know, but we've seen some interesting things out of pretty much every curved display that we've ever seen. The Galaxy Round, the G Flex, the Gear S, and now the
We're basically in the testing phase for all of this. Like, this is the first generation, and once all the kinks are sort of ironed out in this first generation, we might see something good with these displays. But I love that you mentioned the whole novelty for novelty's sake. I would buy the Note Edge solely because I feel like no one else would. But I was thinking of availability in the States. If it's not really going to be available widely there, then that's when I would try to import it. But it's going to be available everywhere.
But that's why I was a pad phone user, because I was like, what? I can dock this into my tablet. Yeah.
I love
totally,
the pad phone.
absolutely. And you can't do that with anything else.
Nothing else,
Look,
yeah.
This is amazing. I know. I think that's undervalued a little bit in our industry, because we were, you cover enough of this stuff for long enough, and you tend to get, if not jaded, then at least a little tired of.
Bored.
Right. Yeah. And so anytime someone does come out with something new, it's like, oh, I'm really compelled by this just because you thought outside the box for a second, and you're putting this in front of me, and that's why I tend to really respect moves. And plus, curved screens are just so awesome.
They are. I totally love them.
They look great, but I don't get the usability or the functionality of it. Like,
Sure.
with especially the Note Edge, my problem is with it having that panel vertical. All of your text has to be rotated 90 degrees. So everything that you're going to get on that, unless you're holding your phone in landscape, is at a 90-degree angle.
Right.
So you have to read vertically and from
Which
bottom
worked
to
out
top.
so well with the Gear Fit.
Oh,
So that's the biggest issue for me is, you can flick through some things to get some stock tickers or news or weather or whatever it may be, but it's also vertical. So it's actually, I would imagine that most people who actually use it will flick it and then they'll turn their phone and flick through. And then by that point, you could have opened an app or pulled down your notification shade or whatever it may be.
Taylor makes fun of me for being a holster guy, but I think if you wear your phone in a holster on your belt like it's 1999 or something, and you can read the ticker while it's in the holster, and they have one for it, and then I think that's quite useful in that case. So I will defend it in that theoretically.
Yeah, that certain aspect of it is actually really cool. But they didn't have, as far as I saw, I was in their booth, I was at the show, I was at all of their events, everything. They didn't have one on-hand display of those cases showing how it would actually work with one of them. They had some in some glass boxes that no one could touch, and they showed some pictures, and that was it. But you could not actually use it yourself. So as hard as it is to activate the side swipe that you were having trouble with, putting that in a case, would that not also kind of make it?
We'll have to wait until the software's final, I think.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's true. But
So what about the Note 4? I'm not a Note user. Never. I cracked the displays on the early ones, and I was like, "This is too expensive. I'm moving away." But like, I went and played with it. It just seems like an incremental upgrade that I'm not that stoked about. But then again, I'm not excited about it anyways. Am I? Am I on the money?
Well, while that might be true, incremental is true for a lot of devices nowadays, especially for people like Sony, which I feel like we'll get into later. But what I feel like these days, especially when I think about Samsung and Sony, is with these versions of the phones, even if they're not quite a huge upgrade from the previous ones, they are what they should have been in the first place. The Note 4 to me is what I would envision a Note phone to be now. Like, the way it is now is exactly the kind of phone I want. So even if it took a while to get there, I feel like we're finally there.
So what's the room for improvement on the Note 4? What should they have done to this one?
Multi-window.
I thought you said it's perfect.
I mean, far from perfect, but I mean, there's still some to really tweak.
Definitely. They said that they improved multi-window to make it more easy to activate, easier to use. I got on the floor and they showed it was a way to use the S Pen to drag the full screen app into a floating window. I tried for 5 minutes and could never do it. I had someone show me, and they tried about 6 or 7 times, couldn't do it. I tried, I never got it to work. So there's definitely some usability issues with multi-window, and it worked, I think, better in the past than what I had on the show floor. Again, not final software, but it was very clunky, a lot more so than it used to be. So that's a step backwards.
So you know who nailed their software on their incremental upgrade? Sony.
Very true.
Oh yes.
I'm a huge Sony fangirl. I have to put that out there right now.
But you know what Sony?
I'm a huge fan.
But you know what Sony does, and this is a phrase that I've coined on plenty of the videos I've done, is when you keep it simple, you keep it fast. And Sony has never really deviated from that whole idea.
Sony also had the advantage with their software of choosing to implement an aesthetic that actually still looks good and has aged quite well, whereas I think Samsung has not managed to do that quite as much. And I think that's one of the things that continues to irritate me about Samsung is its software layer. Whereas even though the hardware is improving quite a bit, I'm still, every time I turn on the screen, it's like, oh, Galaxy Alpha. Well, this is absolutely stunning. I want to buy this immediately. And then I sort of go to use the software, and I don't like it very much at all. But the exact opposite happens on a Sony product for me.
True, yeah.
Circling back to the Note 4, that I think is what it needed more than anything was hardware. This is one of the most high-end smartphones you can buy, and it was running, or not running, it was on a plastic frame. It had plastic bezels, it had plastic everything. And now you have one of the most high-end Android phones, and it feels premium. It actually feels like it's worth the money now. And that's been my problem with Samsung all along, is hardware that it kind of looks okay, but it feels like it's cheap. It is, and it doesn't feel good. And when you hold it, use it, I've never seen someone using a Samsung phone and thought, oh, that just, I want to use that. But he's been using the 1M8 all week. I have two, and every time he pulls it out, I'm like, it just looks so nice. I want to use it. It just looks like it's worth all the hype, the money, everything.
Yeah. I think my point, that's the crux of my point, is mostly the design aspect. Everyone's really starting to get design down. But we brought up the usability point earlier, and I think that's a really good topic of debate, really, because I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, compared to a number of people that I know, I'm not really a power user. I'm not going to use every single feature on a phone. So when I think of how awesome the Note 4 looks and feels with the core functions that I'm going to use, to me, that makes it an incredible phone to begin with. All of these multi-window features and whatnot that I probably will never touch don't necessarily affect me as much as it would for other people.
You know, I just had the most like this best flash in my mind of who is this guy that's using all the features in a Samsung phone? Yeah. And then I was sat there and I'm like, no, I don't want to know this person. Who would that be? And I was immediately horrified. It's like, no one's that user. No, I don't think.
Well, their
anyone
hands
is.
would be like lightning fast, just going like this all the time.
Yeah. No. What do you mean? He would just be looking at his phone and just cocking his head to effortlessly browse web pages. What do you mean? That works great.
And flicking to move your widget, so you're long press and turn your wrist, and yeah.
So an arrogant man with some sort of twitch.
Absolutely, yeah. That describes me, I think. So yeah, there you go.
So there is something that I wanted to talk about with you.
Yes.
Windows Phone.
Yes.
Yay.
I'm gonna go over here for a second.
We'll see you later.
I have plenty of Red Bull to drink, so go ahead.
So what did you think of the Nokia launch?
That was a very fun event to attend. I was late. Once again, Taylor was there first, but I came in and I quickly got caught up to speed. I thought the idea of a selfie phone is a very 2014 thing.
Yeah.
Meaning it will never happen again. You know what I mean? It's like we're going to go past this and look back on. Remember when people did those selfie phones? And even Microsoft seems to admit this with the Nokia apps. They're like, and we're going to bring the selfie app to other devices running Windows Phone, and it's like, okay, so you're just kind of completely rendering the 730 forgettable because it's 5-megapixel front-facing camera we've seen before on everything, and the wide-angle lens. So the 830 was really the star of the show for me on the Microsoft side, and Taylor wrote a great editorial a couple days ago speculating on whether the Lumia 830 would be Microsoft's Nexus offering, a low-cost, high-quality Windows Phone with an excellent camera experience, and I think that's what's promised anyway. Well,
I mean, the interesting point for me was when they put the iPhone and the S5 on, and they were like, how much are these flagships? How much is ours? And then I sat there and I was just like, and I had a debate actually with somebody because I said, well, is this their new flagship? Well, no, it's the 930. But at the same time, they sat there and they went, here's the two big ones on the market, and here's what we're bringing out right now. And then I had a debate with them about how Windows Phone on older software is more power efficient and it's faster, right?
Yes.
So operating system wise, the performance is probably very similar to what the other flagships are offering. Maybe not if you're a quadrant freak, but just in terms of regular use.
Right. Windows Phone has made a big name for itself on being able to perform very well on rather limited hardware.
Sometimes old hardware.
Absolutely, right. And while I did notice some stumbles in the transition to 8, I think that's still largely true. So I think, yeah, with a little bit of creative marketing effort, they can make that claim and make me buy it. It's like, it may not be a flagship class phone, it may only have a 10 megapixel camera, but those shots are going to be the best 10 megapixel shots you can see out there, or the best in the range, and the software performance is going to be up to par with any of the ones that were alongside them. And I think they were rather bold to make that claim, and I admire boldness.
So do I. I mean, last night when Josh, me, and Sasha were walking back from the bar, and I just got my 930, and he was like, "I have the OnePlus. Best camera on an Android phone." And Sasha
I did not say
Oh,
that.
okay.
I did not say that.
Wow.
I said I liked the camera a lot.
okay.
And
He
by the way,
liked-
to your point, I just wanted to chime in for a second. Did you really say Nexus offering and great camera in the same sentence?
I did. Yeah, it's a very strange thing to countenance, right?
But I did not say it was the best one. The jury's out for me on that one. But I do like the camera on the OnePlus, I will say.
The interesting part being there at that event was to see how quickly Microsoft-style marketing and advertising has taken over with this whole Nokia brand, which it's part of Microsoft now. It is Microsoft, but you're getting this marketing that's totally new for this company. You get Nokia or Lumia in a totally different light because they're throwing blows at the two biggest smartphone makers in the world, just throwing
Calling
blows.
them out, right?
Yeah, like not even just throwing shade or whatever, not throwing shade, but they're like, Samsung and Apple, this is what we think, bring it on. Like,
with lights coming up and down the side. It was like, whoa.
yeah, it was insane. Like when he said a few things and I'm like, okay, he's calling out the competition, and then he said like Samsung and Apple, and I'm just like, whoa. Like that came out of left field. Like, what is this?
But to me, like that to me is still maybe a little bit Nokia. I mean, like Nokia's had nothing to lose. With Windows Phone, they're just like they've had nothing to lose. They're like, let's just make the best thing possible and just go. Eventually, people will get it, and they've had nothing to lose to do that. And like just how like sleek and customized the camera is. It just it makes me want to be a Windows Phone user.
Try it out. It's easier than you might expect.
Oh no,
No, I mean like as, for a while though.
You won't be able to use your
I've,
Google Plus though.
No, it's Google Plus. No, the only reason I've been off of a Windows Phone lately is because I moved on to the 1520, and then it was just too big. And then it was basically the review cycle for Android devices, right? Like that just hit the beginning of the summer.
Yep.
And then there was nothing, and then I didn't have a 930. So now I have a 930. I'm going to go back onto Windows because, like, honestly, I'm on the LG G3. I hate it.
Oh man!
I was going to call you out about that. All last night she was saying this.
Just hating all over it.
I hate it.
You and I are exactly opposite because I loathed the G2 and I said so, and then everyone was very angry with me for a very long time. And then the G3 came out, and I found it to be the most refreshing thing from LG since the G.
Glitchy, hot.
I like
Who
the
needs
G
a
Flex, so
QHD?
don't listen to me. All right.
No, I like the G Flex.
Oh, good.
I like the G Flex.
No, but you were just saying the phones are too big for you, and the G Flex.
Yeah, well.
But the G Flex is curved, so it minimizes that.
Were we just talking about curves
It
earlier?
it caresses my bum nicer so it doesn't fall out of my back pocket.
Conforms to the buttock nicely.
Yeah, I couldn't get past the display on the G Flex. He disagreed with me for the longest time, but they sent the G Flex to me for a review or rebuttal because we always take a second look at a device if it's different or really popular or anything. And I took it out of the box. I logged into a few things. I pulled down the notification shade, left it there for a few seconds, and swiped up, and all the text was still on my screen because image retention is just so horrible on it. It's a POLED display, which is what I think Samsung is using on.
No, that's an LG. That's an LG thing.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It's an LG, not Samsung.
LG's using it on their smartwatch.
Yeah, they're using it. That's what I was trying to transition to. The G Watch R has a POLED display.
Yeah, so I don't want to. This is still befuddling me, and I don't want to get too far away from this because Nicole hates the G3 for some reason.
Well, no. Okay. Okay, I hate QHD.
I'm with you 100%.
That
I
is-
will
QHD.
never argue with you on that.
That's the
very
worst part of the
valid
Note
point.
4.
Yeah.
I don't need QHD, and we were actually doing
No
a
one needs
hands-on, like a show floor comparison of the G3 and the Note 4, which the G3 has a rather warm display anyway. Like that, we found that in all of our reviews. The display is really warm, put the G3 beside the Note 4, and the Note 4 was like yellow, and the G3 looked white. We're just like,
You can
whoa.
never predict what's going to go on when you put AMOLED.
It's so
IPS
warm,
next
and
to each other.
that is the worst part of the Note 4 so far that I've seen. Like
But no,
QHD.
it's not the worst part. The worst part is that it has that you're packing that much resolution into a phone that for no frickin' reason other
Right.
than to keep up with the Joneses and say that you have it.
You know, if they had not put like a nice 1080p display in and then given me 50% more battery life, not 7.5% more battery life, I'd be like, Sulfite 5, woo, let's run around. And now I'm
Totally.
just like,
Yeah.
a disapproving look, right?
You're carrying around a stunt, is what you're
Yeah.
doing. Yeah, and
Yeah.
otherwise the phone is gorgeous. But my first day testing it, I was walking around and I was like, well, I can't really get it as bright, and that makes sense. It's a denser layer. Okay, well, we'll see if I'm getting something from it. But 10 minutes into my walk outside on a beautiful spring day, I had an overheating problem because it was just trying so hard to overcome. And I'm like, well, you know, we wouldn't have this issue if we just had a really nice 1080p display, and I wouldn't be able to tell the difference anyway. And you can't either. I don't care what you say.
And I mean, like, that moment where you play that video that they preload that's like screen pornography, and everyone's like, oh my god, I'm like, I know, my phone, it's so awesome. And then they're like, you get 1 minute, and then everyone's on to something else, and you're like, oh, I have 20% less battery now. Oh, I sacrificed.
Hope it was worth it.
Yeah, I want to see a little notification that comes up when it overheats. It's like, oh, sorry, overheating, but we look awesome, don't we? Like, you know, something
It's
like
super
that.
sharp in the dialogue box. It really, you can really, yeah. Oh.
The only thing you can see are like the stars, the tiny little stars on the wallpapers, and you can apparently watch YouTube videos in quad HD, but
Yeah, because they do such a great job of compressing our videos.
right.
Oh yeah.
So
And everyone
it's-
wants to burn through his data quotient watching one video, you know.
Yeah, it's completely totally useless because that's a good point. We're moving away from bigger data packages. Well, I guess we're getting bigger data packages, but they're also a lot more expensive. Data
yeah.
is very
Poor
expensive.
America. I don't know why you guys have this problem.
I don't know.
The rest of the world doesn't live there.
Corporate
Unlimited
greed.
for $30 a month.
Well, I
Stop.
pay
HDMI.
70. I pay 70 for unlimited everything, but I live slightly outside of a city, so with T-Mobile I have Edge everywhere.
Oh,
That's
Edge.
So it's
2G.
it's beautiful, you know, that 1 down and 0.4 up. That's what we've been on all week. So it's
Yeah,
been
that's
rough.
that's definitely something we gotta fix out there. And not only that, being able to have more than one device on a plan, which is a totally different topic, but I was just putting that out there. If we're talking about phone companies, for example, so
I was going to ask, I don't want to interrupt you, but I wanted to ask if we wanted to talk briefly about the other side of the spectrum in terms of size on smartphones. Because did you check out the Z3 Compact?
Yes.
And how did you feel about that? Because I was very excited by it.
So was I. Actually, yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's gorgeous. The only thing you're sacrificing on is a little bit of battery life.
And
because
the-
it's smaller.
and
But it's gorgeous.
The resolution, but I've carried a
But you
Moto
can't
X
tell,
at
yeah.
720p, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
fine. Yeah, and I love that Sony is continuing with that experiment, because for a while I didn't know if they would stop at the Z1 Compact. Because I'm like, I don't know how many people have bought this. I don't know how well it's done. Do you? No.
No, I don't see it very often. Like
Yeah.
Taiwan has a pretty good Sony penetration, so I tend to see a lot of phones around.
Yeah.
And actually, I meet a lot of Sony fans that'll be like, Nicole, yeah. And I'm like, and then I'm like, really? You're also a Sony fan? It's like you just never have this moment, but I don't see it very often. Oh, we have a beer run.
Oh, it's delivery.
Oh, look, it's
Thank
beer for children.
oh
Or
my goodness,
Kindle.
yes, with the little
Beer
logo
for
down there.
kids. Cheers, guys.
To everyone,
Well,
cheers.
thank
to
you
all
for
of
having us.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so this is the TechLounge at the Intel Bloggerhütte. It's where we've all been hanging out all week because everyone else is a sucker
That's right.
who's been going to the press room basically.
Okay, so
I
Yeah.
camped out there a little while, but
I was in there yesterday, and I was talking to Vlad or somebody, and I was just like, cheers, Sasha.
Sasha.
Good to see you, man.
Yes.
And I was just like, where was at the Intel? Have you stopped by the Intel booth? He's like, oh yeah, I was there the other day. And I was like, much better than these droll, drab surroundings, and so much. You guys have fun here.
yeah,
This
and-
place is
and
always
as-
a haven, always. I
Yes,
love
and
it.
as Michael said, it made online blogging so much more epic because about every 20 minutes they would play some sounded
That's
like
true, there's-
Inception music. It's amazing.
So Sasha, you have spent all of IFA sitting in this room.
And I actually think I lost some weight because it's pretty much like a sauna, right? Yeah. No, I mean I did the press days, but since what's the day? Sunday. We kicked it off on Friday, so it's the third day. 2 more to go, and yeah, just I'm still enjoying it because I mean there's something you're gonna work for during throughout the day, and we're getting some nice beer in the evening, so it's not too bad. And of course, it's super interesting because we have interesting companies in here. It's always good to get to know. It's like completely different markets that we are not really covering, right? I mean, IFA is been famous for all these home appliances and connected homes and whatnot. So we had someone here that it's a very traditional, old school German vacuum cleaner company that is building like insane robots right now. And it's just interesting how everything is getting connected. I finally had one of the executives from Sonos in here. So I'm a huge Sonos fanboy. I'm constantly trying to convert people over from Bose to Sonos because I think they rock. Well, you know, I also have a Bose headset. For 4 years already, right? I love them.
That's falling apart, actually. He looks like a hobo.
It is.
Oh, is the foam disintegrating and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
your
yeah,
shoulders?
yeah.
And, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But still, I mean, it's
The
survived
headphone
for
dandruff.
4 years with me. That is amazing. That means for a normal human being, that's like 20 years.
That's true.
So that's not too bad.
I've had a pair of Sony ones that have lasted about that long too, and they're doing that same thing, and I just won't give them up.
And guess what I'm gonna do? If I'm gonna destroy them in maybe the next 12 months, I'm gonna get exactly the same model again, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, they were $300, but she's $300 for a high-class, high-end product the last 5 years. That's amazing.
Yeah, and that you're already used to. You don't have to move it
Absolutely.
onto something
I don't wanna
else.
have anything
No,
else.
Be happy at home. It's
I'm
nice.
so loyal, Bose. Just to let you know, I'm so loyal. Not when it comes to the wireless speakers, though. That's well. Plus, I think Sonos also has a proper budget.
So we were just ragging on QHD. Actually, yeah, we were just ragging on
Thank
QHD.
you. You know what? It's only good for when you have this Gear VR, right? That's why they made QHD.
Oh, that's a good point, right? If
That's
you're going
a
to
very
strap
good
it to your
point.
face, it's
Amazing.
going to be 4 inches from your eyeball.
Exactly.
Then
It's
yeah.
absolutely amazing. And I think while we were doing this with Samsung, a couple of people came up with this, what we saw at Google I/O, this kind of foldable thing.
The
right?
cardboard.
Cardboard.
The
Yeah.
cardboard,
Yeah.
yeah.
But, you know, they're just forgetting that there are no real lenses in there, right? So it's basically like you're just holding a piece of a display right in front of your eyes.
Right.
This costs $200 because there are some proper lenses in there. There's a lot of technology from the Oculus guys, and they've been working on this. The HD version of the Oculus Developers Edition is actually using Galaxy Note 3 displays.
Right.
So, and now they're using the 4 with 1440p. It was sick. I've had no idea. That was amazing. Besides that, those displays are utterly marketing bullshit. Sorry.
I mean, to me, the most epic moment of me using this Gear VR was when I was at the booth and I put it on my face and the foam was wet. And I was like,
my goodness.
I was like, how many people's face sweat is now rubbing
Those
against
pictures
my
in your
face?
head.
Yeah, and I sat there and I was like,
On your next video, did you have like a really sweet sheen?
like a red ring.
Line? Yeah. Oh,
Did you try to film your video with it on?
Yeah.
Did you lose track of your camera?
Well, no. I was sitting in the chair, and then I almost fell off that to catch me. I have no idea what it looked like. I know it got played in the live stream, so I hope I didn't embarrass myself
Because I did like
too
a
much,
4-minute spot, and the camera was right here, and by the end of it, I was talking this way.
So, Josh, what's your take on it? You're also using the OnePlus One.
On the VR, or?
No, on the 1440p displays. I'm
Really?
always saying 1440p because I don't want to screw it up, right? Someone say
Oh yeah, because
QHD and
someone out there is, it's actually 2.5K.
yeah.
I'm sick of
Mister.
all of the different ways to say it. Like it's terrible. But honestly, when it comes to those displays, I really don't see any difference between those and 1080p displays. We were talking about the Compact earlier by Sony that is reminding us that 720p is still pretty great.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah,
and
720p's bomb.
Yeah.
On those small displays, it's sometimes I hate the PPI discussion that people get into, but sometimes you have to be like, remember guys, the display is smaller, so.
well, if we're talking about the term Quad HD, that's 480p times 4,
Right.
which makes 720p still better than HD.
Yeah.
So come on. I've used everything from the Oppo Find 7 to the G3 now the Note 4. To be honest, I could do without it. And when I put my hard-earned money down for a phone, I would rather pay for as many features that I'm going to use rather than the features I won't, which is why I've never fully paid for a Samsung product. But I call it Galaxy Syndrome is what I call it, where you get the phone, you love everything that's on it, and then you realize I use 10% of what's available.
Yeah.
You know, and it includes the display, unfortunately, and I do feel that way. If I can get a lower price on a phone with a 1080p display, but everything else is the same, I would prefer that, especially with the Note 4.
I'm pretty sure if Samsung would never ever roll out any marketing pictures or campaigns with the stylus on it, 90% of the Galaxy Note buyers wouldn't even recognize that it comes with a stylus.
That's very true. Yeah, that's very
You're
true.
just not using. But you know what's interesting? That 10% of Galaxy Note buyers, they just absolutely love it and they're constantly using. I can't do that.
No, but it's exactly like when we would review notebooks or netbooks and tablets that used to come with like, oh, we can finally use those Wacom freaks.
Yeah.
Like whenever there's like a tablet or some sort of notebook with that, like the comments that they leave you, they're like, can you measure how many millimeters is active from the display?
Oh, I don't do that.
No. I don't have a ruler.
I would have to say, pin input's pretty awesome. If you use a Wacom tablet on a laptop when you're editing, it really kind of streamlines everything.
And you don't even need to do it on the laptop. You can do it on the Note. And like I'm not one of the 10%.
Okay.
But I do appreciate it when I'm reviewing a Note. In that it's odd because you wouldn't think that the 3.5 inches that a stylus is would make any difference in your daily interactions with the device. But I find that somehow it is easier if you have both hands available and you're seated on like a plane or something. It serves as a kind of mouse analog that's really very comfortable, and the fact that you can hover over stuff and kind of see what it is, you know, like on a website or something like that, and it, you know, just hover for a second and oh, there's the link preview. Okay, now I'm not going to go to that, but I'm glad I was able to do that rather than just activating every time.
It's really hard not to feel, what's the term I'm going to use, executive, when you pull that S Pen out.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when you're in a train and you take that thing out and you're like, and you think people are looking at you like, that guy's got work to do.
That guy's getting stuff done right there, yeah.
We
He's
talked about
productive.
Yeah, exactly.
We talked about it on the Pocketnow Weekly, how it kind of serves as the same point of the BlackBerry Storm's display, which it clicked to separate selection from action.
Right.
And that's something you can't normally do with a smartphone. And that's one reason I do like the S Pen, is because I can separate selecting something and actually acting on a tap. And
You're right.
I like
Very
that,
true.
and it unlocks a few features that are actually helpful. Most of the S Pen features are complete total. They're bogus.
We
but
should make the point that you can do air view on the newer Samsung phones without an S Pen. You can hover your thumb, but it does not work nearly as well.
Do you know how hard
as
it
the
is to
S Pen.
hover your finger over a display and not actually touch it?
It's pretty tough.
It's so hard.
It's like you're trying to tell somebody, look at this, look at this.
Oh, true. Yeah.
You know, I've used it before, the air view using just your finger, and there's no reason to do it, especially if you're holding it in one hand and your thumb is like.
Yeah. If
It's
you get a
sweating.
little caffeine quake going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Careful.
So the thing that I was actually going to start this discussion off with was, so what was your pick of the show? And then I don't know what happened. That was actually the first thing that I was going to say.
Well, that
and
was-
then it's like, yeah.
That was the thing that would have required us to make a choice, and so I think we
Exactly.
avoided the work of that.
Well,
of that bit.
if you're not going to go in that direction, we haven't touched upon wearables. If you want
That
to.
is true. Where
Yeah.
well, are you skirting the issue? Can you not make a decision?
I don't know.
So hard.
I
No, but I'm okay. I can kick off wearables. Okay. So as some of these upskirt shots are showing, I'm a lady. And I've never really ever felt that me talking about tech should have a gender. Like I've never felt that. Thank you. But wearables is the first time that I'm kind of like, okay, women are physically smaller, so we actually need a smaller device. And the reality with wearables right now is that they're not sure about the hardcore functionality, and it's hard to miniaturize, right? So they're not going to make something smaller for a woman when they don't know what they're making yet. So right now, as like a woman in tech, I'm like, hurry up. Like, could
Right.
you like make something smaller already?
I was standing in front of you when you asked LG. You said, "Are you going to make one of these for women?" And the guy's like, "It is for women." And no, I've
Like,
actually
as a belt?
Yeah, so I've written some editorials about making wearables for women, and I've received a lot of dirty comments about being sexist and all this other
But
stuff.
it's such a true
fashion.
point, though.
It is a convergence of fashion and tech.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. And
I
if you
agree.
and anatomically, women are smaller.
We're
They have smaller
smaller.
wrists.
You know, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that Pebble is going to be the first one to come up with a smartwatch.
I wouldn't
this
be
is the
surprised.
smallest.
Yeah.
This could
Yeah.
be already one for women.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree.
And I think it's still the best looking one that's out there. I also have to admit that I love the Asus one. Right?
Yes.
It was basically showing that a
Yeah, we didn't even get to see it.
non-round watch can also look really, really sexy.
Yeah.
In terms of the build quality, this looks like a design. This is as close to a watch as maybe the Pebble Steel right now.
Yeah.
I think all the other ones, they immediately look very, very geeky still.
Yeah.
Even the Moto 360, if you play around with it for a while, and this black little
Yeah, and it,
thingy on the
Horizon
bottom.
line.
that it's like having a
But
tea
what-
saucer on your.
Yeah.
I like it though. I really like the Moto
I do-
360.
I do as well, yeah.
Because this looks dainty on my wrist. I have big wrists, and this just looks too small.
And that is
I
the
need something
fashion.
big.
The fashion is to
Okay.
have a larger watch these days. That's what the
So-
children are doing.
So the Gear S one at the booth in one of the tables there was a Swarovski cuff. I mean it was ugly. And but at least it like if I maybe had like a leather cuff or like something like that, I could be all in. So there was an announcement outside of IFA, guys. Somebody actually announced something outside of IFA.
What?
What?
Imagine that.
Imagine that. And it was actually Intel. So Intel's been on the
This bracelet?
The bracelet. They actually launched like a bracelet that had like stone inlay, and like half of it was a display, and then it had flexible battery integrated into the other side. And that's actually the thing that I've been waiting in a wearable for women, is that it can be bigger, so we can have a bigger battery.
Sure, right.
You know what I mean? Like, build it for me.
Use the band intelligently and actually
Yeah.
use all the space that you have. Sure.
Well, not even just that. I mean, I've said this on plenty of occasions now. I think we should stop trying to make these things like watches. I think tech has always done this beautiful thing throughout all of its existence. It creates its own form. And for us to try and hold on to this watch form factor has been what has been making this the worst type of
Thank you
release.
for saying this. When you look at
Yeah.
the Moto 360, or when you look at the LG G Watch, it's basically to duplicate something
Yeah.
that's been around for more than 150 years. I think Patek made the first one in 1848 or something, right? And I'm not getting it. You know what? Even the watch faces need to look like a chronograph or whatever. What
Yeah.
the fuck? If I want to have a proper chronograph, I'm going to buy a proper chronograph and not a geeky smartwatch.
If it's executed pretty well, then fine. I actually think as a watch, the G-Watch R looks pretty good. But to be honest, if we're going to have a wearable revolution,
Yeah.
it has to be exactly its own thing. If you're not going to own
I
it,
agree.
then
I
we're going
agree.
to have discussions like this every year.
I think what you're trying to say is you want a Pip-Boy 3000.
Yeah, exactly. Where's my wearable that holograms up?
Yeah,
Like,
where's
I
the
want
wearable
that.
that tells me that my arm has been cut off and that I need to get some rations to
Yeah,
make
exactly.
healthy again?
I can't sleep because there are enemies nearby. But yeah, that's really what I was thinking. I remember I was hanging out with some friends one time and they had those slap bands. Remember those?
Slap
Oh,
band.
yeah.
You can make
That's a cool idea.
That is.
Samsung put a curved display on a slap band so I can boom just put it on. And we're done.
LG would probably be the one to do that.
yeah, 'cause
they've
have
got the
flat
curved
band
battery
styluses.
tech down.
Oh, there
They've
you
got
go.
the curved display
Yeah,
thing.
that's
Yeah,
true.
that would
But
be.
you know, I really hate to say this because, you know, everyone is bragging about this, but I'm pretty sure when Apple is showing their iWatch, right, it will be something different. Right? And it will finally somehow define this market and will build up all this momentum the other smartwatch makers can take advantage of right now, and finally they can position themselves, right? So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that they will have a completely different approach.
I think you're right.
And it's going to be expensive, which is okay.
Which is just fine.
Always.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because I mean, you know, the iPhone was expensive in 2007.
Yeah,
and that,
yeah.
that worked out all right.
I don't think for a smartwatch, price is necessarily the biggest issue.
Oh, I agree.
And it's because it's that convergence between fashion and tech.
Yeah.
If you can make it, if it looks nice, it's okay that it's a little more expensive as long as it works properly.
As we've been saying constantly over and over here and everywhere, you don't really understand the utility of a smartwatch until you use it. And I think that's its biggest impediment. You know, I think manufacturers, if they want to get into the smartwatch and get serious about it, they have to put it into the box with the smartphone. They have to start shipping these things with the smartphone, maybe even losing money on them, so people can get addicted to the added utility, which is real. And you know, I think that's probably.
But once again, they're holding on to this notion that everything has to be a watch. You know?
Well, yeah, but I'm not with you on that, because I don't mind resurrecting this dying form factor, right?
Oh, really?
Because, like,
so you wake up in the morning, and if you're a timepiece collector, you have a box full of really nice watches. But compare that to a smartwatch collector who's all plugged in and wired, and it looks like crap.
Well, yeah. No. But I mean, you know, just in terms of like the daily wearable, right? Like the ritual of you wake up and there's the belt, and the belt goes on, and the wallet goes in the pocket, and then, you know, there's the phone and the thing, and it used to be there was the watch, and that used to be a really important thing. And then, of course, it died thanks to smartphones. But I don't mind finding a new functionality for this old form factor that actually
but as long as these companies still try to make round, square, stuff like that, think outside the box.
Triangular.
You know? Well, maybe, yeah.
What is this,
Nice
SNL?
Triforce on your wrist. But I feel like the Gear S is probably the closest thing we've seen to a little bit of a reimagining of what that wearable could be like. Because it's not being called, well, I guess in my eyes, it's not a smart watch to me. It's literally a phone strapped to your wrist. But at least they're trying something a little bit different. You know, if my entire wrist can be, you know, like a display, for example.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Know? Like, why does it have to always be a watch? I love watches, don't get me wrong. You know, I have a brother who collects Schofield watches, and I know what it's like to really like watches, but I think if tech really wants to make wearables a thing, we have to own it somehow. We have to own it in a way that no other form has. That's what I think.
You're right.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's kind of why I've started saying, you know, I think we should start designing wearables for women, just because we potentially have a lot more room to play with. I mean, like, I can put on a bangle and then be like, this is my bangle, I'm just gonna do this, and it's huge, right? And there's so much like innovative real estate that you could do with that.
Can I ask you a question then about that?
Yeah.
We have companies in fashion that specialize in either men's fashion, women's fashion. Do you think these tech companies are going to do the same thing? Like LG one day will exclusively be just men's watches with the G-Watch R, and then Pebble will exclusively make products for women. Do you think that? Don't you think if fashion is the idea here, don't you think it kind of has to go in that direction?
A little bit. I mean, but like the thing is, if you look at who did Fossil partner with, right? Android Wear, right? So I mean, like
Android Wear. And
Yeah.
actually, Fossil been doing a smartwatch already. Jesus, like 7 or 8 years ago,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So-
Bluetooth
Yeah, I
connectivity.
remember those.
Yeah,
I wanted them back then, and they
notifications.
never really materialized, right?
And like the thing that Intel did is that with this cuff, that wearable cuff that they launched from, they didn't launch it at a tech conference. They launched it at New York Fashion Week,
There you go.
right? And so
Yeah.
like I think that out of all the companies who are doing wearables right now, Intel had the forward thinking to
They
go, you
wanna
know
get
what?
into this space.
We-
trust me.
yeah, they wanna get
They
into
would
this
love
space.
to be on the catwalk with
And I think that's
Yeah.
brilliant.
That's
That's
right.
absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And like it's nice to have somebody pushing it from like a larger, different angle, because right now what I'm seeing, you're right, it's kind of lame. The resurrecting an old form factor. Ooh, it's finally round. Like really, really.
Yeah, so true. So what was the pick of the show? What is it?
You keep forcing us to do work,
Yes,
Sasha.
of course.
Well, I have a question about that question. Is it? Are we confined to a single answer, or can we answer per category?
No, it's a single answer.
Single
Yeah.
answer.
Yes. I think that makes sense because there's always only one device somehow at each and every show that really stands out and gives me this wow thing. Like I really had to say I was wowed away with the Gear VR today. That was in terms of the crispiness of the picture. And I'm so afraid of heights, right? And so they had these pictures of this white always and they said, oh my God, I need one of these sickness bags or whatever, right? I'm gonna throw up, right? That was immediately, and also the way they build it, the build quality is great, right? With all the leather on the straps and this black and white also makes it look like it was made for stormtroopers or something. It's really cool. I loved it. I would love to use it on a flight. I would love to play games with it. I can only imagine what this is going to do for the developers community. Yes, Oculus Rift is doing this for quite a while, but now we're talking about a company like Samsung, right? That can really sell millions and millions and millions of these devices. Oculus Rift is still shipping developers at this for fucking 2 years, right? So I want this stuff, and I want developers to use it, and I want to have really cool games on it.
No, I think the reason why you're picking it is because when you take the smartphone out of the front, your eyes get enormous and you look like a minion. That's awesome.
Well, wouldn't it be really hard though if you get some sort of text or call on the phone to like wouldn't that be oh shoot. Oh.
I would want it to immediately convert to a video call, but I would want it to be able to display.
This might be the weirdest video call you ever have. With eyes like this
eyeball.
with a lens.
Like, yeah, how's it going, man?
Marty Feldman.
Let's be honest, it would display you as Tony Stark.
Yes, yes, that is
In the
exactly what I
helmet?
would. Yeah, it would overlay the holograms. Too.
Oh,
From-
yeah.
From
And I
Jarvis'
would buy it.
view. Everybody jokes that he's Tony Stark because look at him.
Of course.
Not when I'm filmed from this angle, friend.
It's funny he mentions Tony Stark because there's a presentation where you have Jarvis as the Gear VR, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah,
when
that is
I saw that, I was kind of on the fence about VR to be honest, and then I saw that and I was like, I'm Iron Man. I like this.
This immediately wins.
Yeah.
And and this VR is only possible because of the display of the Note 4 and the performance of it, right? And you will be able to buy, let's say, I would guess that Samsung is selling it in a bundle sooner or later,
probably,
right?
yeah.
You're buying a Note 4, you can get the VR for $150 or something, right? Which would be a fair price in my opinion. So let's say for $750 or $800, you're getting an amazing handset and you're getting an amazing virtual reality gear. That can also take computer gaming onto a whole new level. Really on a whole new level. Finally. I mean, this shit is around for 20 years or something. You see this from any kind of labs, or even longer, 30 years.
Yeah.
And now finally we can buy it. So that's my pick of the show.
That's your pick of the show.
I hope that someone at Samsung is seeing this.
I don't know if I hope that or not.
Okay, well I can take it if you're not ready.
I can be ready.
Okay, well,
I saw a really sweet refrigerator. I got stuck in the home appliances section.
I love that.
I could not get out of there, and I just stopped in awe of this big
it-
section of refrigerators.
Does it text you when you're low on Sunny D? Is that why you're into
I
it?
don't know.
The Samsung fridge will make you seltzer.
What?
I was like,
He's sold.
I
You
was
just-
like,
you just
I
won
was
him
like,
over.
it has a seltzer machine inside, and she's like, yes.
Sign me up.
I know.
Right now.
And on the front it tells you the temperatures of different sections, but like the water area has like crushed ice, cubed ice,
Mixed gas? Oh,
yeah,
there's
this
still
guy
mixed
right
ice.
gas, there's
In his
still
sleep.
water. I know.
This guy in his sleep is like Wasser mit Gas.
I cannot deny it. Polar Seltzer, we want you to sponsor us all the time. Oh God, no. My lens of this whole thing is mobile only, right? So I have been thinking about nothing but smartphones and tablets all week and wearables, and for me, it's. I need to qualify this answer because I'm going to sound like a paid shill because everyone knows that Huawei Oprah'd everybody on the Mate 7. The Ascend Mate 7 was something that I didn't know what to expect really. We sat in the crowd.
We contemplated not staying for that because we were like,
if I'm just here for a tablet, I'm not going to be. Yeah.
I mean, a Mate 7 sounds like a 7-inch tablet.
Exactly. And in
I was
fact, it's
like,
a 6-inch screen,
man.
so there's some confusing messaging. There's some other stuff going on. But where the big guys like Samsung and Sony are delivering, cool stuff, it's so iterative to me that I can't actually get excited about it. Like I can't sit there and say, oh yes, indeed, this will change something. Whereas Huawei has accomplished a sort of a reinvention with this device, or like completed one that they started a while ago, because they had done phones that lasted forever before, and that was very impressive. They had done devices that were very large and okay, whatever, but there was always some kind of, the software was ugly or the hardware was lacking or something. And with this, despite the fact that, frankly, it's a blatant copy of the HTC One Max on the hardware side, it's a really good copy, and it's one that brings in some functionality that I have not seen executed better elsewhere, like the fingerprint
That looks
scanner.
beautiful.
Yeah,
fingerprint
that's what I wanted to
scanner.
bring up.
Yeah. I mean, the
The
fingerprint
fact-
scanner is, one touch and like you're in.
Yeah,
Like,
love it.
It's
They
the
are-
way some of this should have been done.
They're the only smartphone manufacturer that has done the fingerprint sensor right.
Yeah.
Right.
And from
Yeah,
any angle,
absolutely.
just half on, it
Yeah.
really works. And
Yeah.
it shows you get into your phone really quick. None of the other ones ever did that. It was like swipe, no, swipe.
Press,
Yeah,
you're
so
holding
You're
it wrong,
let me
swipe
swipe.
It's
See, I
like-
made a comment in my review of that phone that I wish that I could do it from prone position when the screen is off. I could just go like that and it will unlock it.
Absolutely, right.
And everyone's like, you're asking for too much.
Not so much, right? But the great thing is that once you get into it, right? Once you get past that barrier, you expect, if you're me, you expect to see the Emotion UI and kind of be like, why am I in this? But they've made beautiful software to go along with the hardware.
Yes,
and I
they
mean,
have.
it sort of blows me away. And I think the degree of surprise contained in this package, for me, positive astonishment is enough to make this my
I agree
pick.
with you. I think it's one of the most underrated and underestimated smartphone manufacturers out there.
It is.
I think we already saw it with the S&P6, right, which was a beautiful phone.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It was
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of a mix, a little bit of an iPhone in there, but it was very thin. It was great materials. The P7 is also a beautiful phone. And what I really appreciate, they tried to do all of this on their own. They tried to have their own SoCs, right? They tried to have their own design. They tried to have their own UI, which is a very Chinese attitude recently. In the last 3 or 4 years, you see more and more Chinese companies trying to differentiate themselves from this weird stigma of being the copycat, right, of the world,
Right.
by saying, you know what, we are going to have our own design language, and we are going to be the ones that others are going to copy in the future.
Right.
And,
And I love that.
and you see on the software here, they have already made that very much like Material Design. If you go through
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
the
Yes.
settings app looks like Android L, or somewhat like it. The notification shade, the settings toggles, everything is very much Android L, and that shows some foresight or at least forethought in this company where they can say they're ahead of the curve, at least
Agreed.
in terms of software already.
Yeah.
And that's impressive to me, but I will have to disagree with you. I'm not totally blown away with that phone. It still feels kind of cheap. I'm a little
What?
bit like
What?
I just something about the metal.
I was just gonna say.
Do you want me to glue some Swarovski crystals on the
Yes.
back or what?
That's what I need. More
Do you
more
need some more
Swarovski.
bling
There's
bling
not
on
enough
there?
chrome electroplating on this
I
thing.
think this is such a classic, timeless, stylish design.
I like the look of it, but it's
This
just
is
something about the
only
way it feels.
display. I love that.
Yeah.
It is all display,
You
and
feel
I'm
the edges,
happy to
the-
have
the
one. It's
chamfered
just
edges.
That's great.
I don't know. I'm not completely sold on it yet, but I haven't really taken the time like
Sure,
he
It's
has.
been, but it has been 2 days, so all of these are initial
Yeah, it's a
impressions,
very
you know.
early kind of. I mean, it's been in my bag the whole time. He's been carrying it and using it. I kind of toss mine in my bag because I won't use a phone unless I get
And
to
right
really set it up.
now, you're
The
getting an
fingerprint
email from
sensor is
Huawei
so
asking for
quick.
it back.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as you're off the air.
Richard was like, you know good.
So what was your pick from the show?
As crazy as it sounds, I have to say 830, the Lumia 830, and I'm not a Windows Phone guy. I'm not, but the way that the industry is changing is that everybody wants something a little more affordable.
Yeah.
You get really, really good smartphones for very cheap.
Yeah.
That's how it is now. You have the Moto G, you have now the Moto X, not the new one,
Have
the
you seen
old
these
one.
new LGs for 129?
You
It's
have
the same
Yeah.
design
Like-
of the G3.
Was it the G3S?
No, what was it? Filino.
The Elfino.
Yeah.
Is it the Elfino or
Right.
the Bella? Or
Snapdragon
the Bella?
400, right? 129. It looks
You can,
great.
yeah,
It's
there are
crazy.
so many
Hey.
really affordable smartphones that are just
Yeah.
they're great.
Yeah.
And for Nokia to or now Microsoft to really take advantage of that is impressive. I like it, and that's what that editorial I wrote last week was about. That this could be Microsoft's Nexus, and that's what it is. It's not their best phone ever. It's the affordable, great phone for everyone, and it is. it is very good competition for Apple and for Samsung, and it is because they don't compete on that affordable level.
Yeah.
And
I'll tack on one of my favorites to yours, so I don't have to use it. The Lumia Denim update, right? I think that is actually a really killer update, and that they're not making you go to any specific handset. It's going to trickle down, right? To be able to push a button. 25 frames 4K, and then to pick out an 8.2 or 3 megapixels, 8.3 megapixels still, to be able to like really get that.
Insane.
That's so sick, right? And then flash on or off days later. Like these are all like awesome things.
yeah, those are pretty cool. I did enjoy that. They went a little. Actually, every company went a little crazy with the whole selfie thing this year. That was kind of the groovy, the selfie.
It's called self-portrait. Okay.
Oh my God! No, my mom. When I went to Paris with my mom, and I gave her a Xperia Z1, I think, and I was like, Mom, here's how you take a selfie, and she was like, you know, like a day later, like I taught her just the eyes, just one eye, like she was like, oh, it was a whole new world for her, and she turned to me and she's like, I love this self photo. It's so much fun.
Can I make a mention of Lenovo's foresight with their selfie camera, that you can do this as a gesture to trigger the
capture. Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
So what about your pick? Because you really need to wrap it up, otherwise security guys are going to kick us out.
I'm going to give 1.5 answers because the first thing I'm going to say may not count. It may not count. The reason why is because Motorola didn't really have a presence here at IFA, but I did get to see the Moto X.
That's a beauty.
I did get to see it. I loved the original package already. And now that we have the enhancements we have on there, I'm over the moon. I really love what this new Moto X is bringing. I will asterisk that by saying bamboo. Anything else, it's not my favorite. Moto X bamboo.
Agreed.
Yeah. But if I had to make a pick from IFA, Z3 tablet compact.
That was gonna be mine.
Interesting.
But I don't know if you have the same reason as me. PlayStation 4 streaming. Boom.
Yeah,
I'm done.
Don't care about
Because
that at all.
my favorite tablet of all time is the NVIDIA Shield tablet. It took the idea of having a tablet but turned it on its head in terms of not saying we're made for everything. It said we're made for gaming, and it did it so well that you forgot about everything else. Nice. I love that tablet. Now, with the NVIDIA streaming that it has, if I'm gonna buy a PS4 next month, which I am, I'm gonna play on that tablet all day, every day. And I'm gonna love it.
Well, for about 3 hours, and then the battery's
I wish I could do that.
I'm gonna have it plugged in the whole time.
Tell me a little bit about your working life right now, to be honest.
Well, hey, I'm gonna film myself playing. So.
Can I just circle back to Motorola for a second and say that with a real leather backside on the new
It's
Moto X,
killer. Seriously.
they just like
I wasn't
basically-
convinced either. Yeah.
They
I
basically
wasn't convinced.
backhanded Samsung and said, "Forget your fake crap. Here's real leather. That's true. Get on our level."
And then we'll have 5 different versions of it, right?
Right. So
I'm looking forward to the Greenpeace protests outside of Motorola for the next year. It's gonna be fun.
right.
But here's the problem. As soon as I got the spec sheet and I saw 2300 milliamp hour battery, it's like, what the?
On the new Moto X?
Yes. What
Oh
the?
dear.
Yep.
So I'm gonna.
It's not gonna work.
I'm gonna put my.
They
pick
wanted
of
to
the
match
show.
the battery life of the Moto 360, I guess.
Sick burn.
Okay, my quick pick of the show is actually going to be, because everyone actually took mine, but I went to the MediaTek launch in Shenzhen for their new 6595 that had the 420 frames per second slow motion.
5x2.
Yeah.
Actually, no.
Oh, really?
Well, okay, well, yes, but no. I'm actually going to go for the Alcatel Hero 2 because of the booth. There's a bottom that turns it into a book, and then there's an app that has a sick DJ application on it. It's like colors with levels, and you can turn different things on. So it's the attachment of the Alcatel Hero 2 that's going to be my pick of the show.
Very bold choice.
That's what's up.
Well, and the 40 frames per second when I do my Firehand videos.
Yes.
Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, guys, we really need to wrap it up now. Not only it's getting hotter in here.
Can I just say then, this was a pleasure. By all means of the
agreed.
word. Like,
Yeah.
I wish we could toast so you all finish your beers. I gotta finish my beer. You got a little more?
Yeah.
I can toast with seltzer.
I've inhaled mine.
Cheers.
Let's try it again.
Cheers, everybody.
To Josh's dad.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to my
Josh's
dad who's
dad.
watching right now in the Philippines.
Thank you for having us, guys. This is
Hey, thanks for coming.
Yeah,
Cheers.
thanks for
Appreciate
coming. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
So I guess this is the end of the day.
Yeah, it is the end of the day. Can we switch over to the main camera? Okay. Wir sind morgen ab 10 Uhr wieder am Start. Ich weiß noch gar nicht, was wir überhaupt dann anbieten. Ich hoffe, euch hat Spaß gemacht. Gebt uns Feedback ganz einfach in den Kommentaren rein. Und wenn ihr Bock habt, wieder morgen 10 bis 18 Uhr. Das ist dann der vorletzte Tag von der IFA. Ich hoffe, euch hat das auch jetzt Spaß gemacht, auch wenn es jetzt 2 Stunden Englisch war. Wir sehen uns bis morgen. Ciao.